not famous, bro. Not famous, bro. You don't know shit about boxing.
And welcome to the YDKSAB Show. Your host, John G. I'm going to keep it real simple and short for you guys today. And I'm going to talk about the negotiations between Chris Algieri and Terence Crawford. Now, I know that a story broke on BoxingNews24.com that Chris Algieri is outpricing himself. And I kind of wanted to comment on that because the point of this show is to kind of break down all of the politics of boxing. You know, kind of all the BS that goes on. And, you know, the one thing, you know, when I read the story, or when the story broke, that kind of, you know, it took me for a loss, was the fact that it said that Chris Algieri was outpricing himself. Now I'm thinking, okay, you know, he just came off a Manny Pacquiao fight, just came off a Provodnikov fight. He's probably asking for millions. And, you know, come to find out, he's only asking for $750,000. I think it's quite ridiculous to say that is outpricing yourself. Now, you know, I'm a kind of guy that looks at figures. I look at what you have done over the last, you know, your last recent fights. So I'm just going to take the last two that he did, the two big fights that he had against Provodnikov and Manny Pacquiao, and go by the law of averages. And I mean, you kind of got to go by market, you know, your market value. So, all right, Provodnikov for that title fight, he made $100,000. Okay, and then he won that fight, and he landed the second biggest money fight there is against Manny Pacquiao, and he secured $1.67 million for that fight. So, okay, if you average those two together, you got $1.77 million in his last two fights. So if I divide them, and I come up with about, you know, above $850,000, you know, as an average between his last two fights. So for Terence Crawford, which isn't going to be an easy feat, you know, it's going to be a pretty marketable fight. That's a very big fight in the boxing, you know, for us boxing heads, for those who watch boxing and pay attention to it. That's a very lucrative fight. He's asking for less than what he's averaged his last two fights, just coming off a pay-per-view Manny Pacquiao fight. For the life of me, I can't, and maybe somebody else can explain to me how that's pricing yourself out. $750,000. Now, think about what a fighter has to pay. They have to pay their manager. You know, depending on how good their manager is and what type of percentage they worked out, that's something that they have to pay off of their purse. They have to pay their trainers. They have to pay for miscellaneous things. You know, certain things in their entourage. So $750,000, I think he lowballed what he's actually worth in this type of fight. And, you know, I mean, obviously there's always negotiation tactics, but to me, Chris Algieri's team isn't doing them justice, because if you ask me, coming in low like that, he's going to, yeah, I mean, I think Chris Algieri could have easily asked for over $1 million for this fight. And, you know, that's just me being blind and not knowing anything else, and, you know, how the fighter purses are going. He could have at least asked for $1 million, and that to me would have been acceptable. But to say that $750,000 off of the info that I just explained to you is too much, nah, I can't rock with that. But what do I know, you know? But just give feedback on what you think. But to me, $750,000 for Chris Algieri, that's lowballing. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and I'll try to get a couple of these videos up a little bit more. All right, peace.